now. And so that's what we are doing. We are going live. Um, just got to introduce the show, and then we will come back to talking about what it is you guys want to talk about before I talk about the bullshit that I want to talk about, which is okay because, you're the panel. That's what I like about it. You're the panel, and I want to do what you guys want to do because, hey, it's not an this is a democracy. We could do that anyway. Welcome to our current event show. This is our 152nd meeting. It used to be called the Round Table, but now that COVID is behind us, this is it. It's an opinion show. What's going on in the world? Before I introduced you to what's happening right now in the show, I just want to remind you that everything you hear today is opinion. We were talking about consoles. Mixing consoles, and Ken was saying that he likes one particular brand. He used to use another particular brand, and here we go. So, joining the conversation in progress, we go back.
Yeah, yep. There's lots of great consoles out there, but I'm a believer that you're only good on the one that you use all the time, right, Kurt?
I would believe so. Yes. Some are easier to walk up to than others. Some are kind of a programmer's console, I guess, and some are more of a mixer's console.
Yeah, right. Yeah. When you say a programmer's console, that makes me think of the SSL console because I went to the class on how to use that, and that's what I came away thinking. I came away thinking, I'm really going to have to program a show on this thing in order to use it. It's not like you can just walk up to it and turn it on and you can make sound. It was really need some preparation.
Well, to me, the one that you're on is a programmer's console, but that is also because I haven't had to walk up to it and mix that much. I mean, I can, but to really use all of its features, you have to really you've got to know it inside and out. And it's
now which digital are you using, Ken?
So the one I have on the Manilow show right now is the SD5. For the shows we're doing at Radio City, I'm going to use an SD7 because we have this orchestra. So I wanted some more faders. So they said they'll give me an SD7. So I said, let's do it.
And now, are these upgraded to Quantum?
The one that I have, the SD5 is not. And that's not like a necessary feature for me. And OSA is not a fan of Digico consoles, I don't think. So it's not like they're going to spend, what is it, $20,000 or something on the console to get it upgraded to Quantum. They're just going to leave it regular SD5.
I believe it's a little bit more than that to do that.
Oh yeah, okay, all right.
But I guess the question is how many? Is this a 24-bit or is it 32-bit or 64-bit?
I think it's the number of bits is a function of the preamps, isn't it? I'm not sure, but we happen to have an SD rack that's full of 32-bit. Mic preamps.
Right, that's exactly correct. That's what I meant. So right now, a lot of people are wanting the 64-bit, but unfortunately, they can't get them.
Is that right? Interesting. Well, I'll take anything. I mean, I like to say on the Manilow show, it's not about the quality of the sound. It's about how the instruments are blended so that the audience hears what he wants them to hear. I don't think he would, know any difference if it was 16-bit or a 64-bit input card for the purposes of the hearing what he wants to hear. You know what I mean?
Right.
How loud
just a quick question. Sorry, Kurt. Go ahead.
What's your GBA at front of house?
Usually in the 90s, like 92 to 98, somewhere in there.
Do you have
because you got to compete, mostly because you got to compete with the audience. The audience can be louder than that at times.
Do you have assisted listening stems that you feed out to, like matrix out for that kind of thing?
I have an output called assisted listening.
Now, what is, because of the show that you do, what is the minimum dB input that the normal hearing aid can handle before it craps out?
Yeah, good question. Kurt?
Let's defer to our resident trade show specialist. He might
Oh,
answer the
is
question.
Mike here? Is Mike here?
Yeah.
Mike Brown, Cavalo. And I'm reading everything about it now. It's happening in Las Vegas. It's coming down.
Holy cow, Ken Newman standing next to an Oscar statue, and you scaled it just right. It makes it look like you're holding an Oscar of your own.
I've given him one in, for sound design of live performance. There you go. So even though it's not, I call it a Carlos, not an Oscar. But anyway, so am I only one frozen, or is Mike frozen?
I have to know, did you give him like a solid one, or is it like the gold foil chocolate one?
It was the gold foil, just like an Easter egg.
The chocolate one, he would have bit the head off by now.
Yeah.
Well,
Just like the Easter egg.
If he's smart, he would have taken the picture immediately before temptation ran its course.
So anyway, we got a lot to talk about. Are we finished talking about the bits and pieces of a digital console?
Well, that's never going to end, but let's end it for today.
I have one question though, because you just came back from Tahiti, and before because I really want to hear more about what your overall thoughts were about Tahiti. Did you see any showrooms in Tahiti, and what kind of equipment because I'm sure you were aware of what was going on around you.
I saw one ballroom that they had opened up, and they were tearing the old little carpet squares out, and they're going to put in new ones. And I was stunned that every single person working construction was wearing flip-flops.
Welcome to the South Pacific.
Everyone. There wasn't a boot or shoe in the room. And everything else I saw was plastic. I never saw a speaker that wasn't a plastic speaker. And most of them were quite old, and all the mounting hardware was rusted.
What about the wiring? Did you notice how the wiring is just haphazard everywhere, and they just plug they don't even use a distro. They just plug bare ends into the wall. Have you noticed that? Did you notice that?
There was some lights for a one of the South Seas show things that they do at the hotels, and that was kind of scary looking. In fact, I thought when I saw them the first day that they were like leftover or discontinued from long ago when someone used to do a show there, but the next day there was a show there.
Yeah, it was left over from the nuclear testing areas of that area.
It's pretty scary. I don't think it would pass, UL inspection or anything like that anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. So going into the trip, you went to Tahiti. What was the highlight of the whole trip?
Bora Bora was the best by leaps and bounds. The Conrad Hilton there is amazing, and the staff were great. The things I noticed that were not so great was that all the French people were smoking everywhere, and the only people who stood in any lines and like paid any attention to any sort of sense of order when you were exiting or entering any kind of a ferry boat or airport terminal or anything like that were the Americans, the English, and the Germans. But so we're standing in line for 20, 30 minutes. And then when the door opens, everybody else just rushes the door and ignores the fact that there was ever any kind of a line at all. So that was something. And then everywhere you go, for some reason, they all expect that you would want to put a crap eating ocean bug in your mouth and chew on it, which still stuns me.
Disgusting.
Yeah, very disgusting.
Anyway,
other than that, Kenny, it was great.
Kenny, you're going to New York. You're going to be going to New York with Manilow, right? To Radio City Music Hall.
That's what we hear. That's later in May, towards the end of May. Yeah.
Very good. Anything special you're planning for that?
Just a giant orchestra, and no, not enough time to get all the equipment prepared. So we're gonna just try to prepare it as best we can.
Cool. You'll have one less competitor there. Phantom of the Opera just closed, isn't that? I mean, that's to me.
30 years, right?
Yeah, I see. I probably have seen that show more than any other show. It's an amazing show. If you never got to see it on Broadway, well, I'm sure there'll be plenty of touring companies of Phantom. Do they still have Mike? Did they still have the Phantom in Las Vegas?
That's been gone forever, which was a shame because the chandelier here was, and don't take my word for it, take Andrew Lloyd Webber's word for it. It was the best chandelier of all the productions because, of course, we overdid it. But they just could not fill that theater. They had to paper that theater 2-3 times a week during the run that was here. And so they finally left, and that was years ago. It hasn't been around for years.
35 years in the making.
But that being said, that theater at the Venetian has been many shows since Phantom left, and nothing works. It's like, you know how every town has that one restaurant location that never works doesn't matter what kind of food you put there, it always fails. That theater at the Venetian is the graveyard theater. It doesn't matter what you put there, it fails.
It's cursed, huh? Wow. So here's a question for you. Is Phantom still running in London?
I don't know.
That seems like a great opportunity for Tina to spring to action.
Yeah, because I'll tell you something. If we were in the Monte Python search for the Holy Grail, I would have just been thrown off the bridge. I wouldn't have the answer. I don't know. Gone. All right, that's it. So anyway, speaking of streaming, because that's how you're gonna watch it now, by streaming. Warner Brothers, Disney, HBO Max streaming service is changing their title to Max. And basically, they are going to be consolidating a lot into HBO and into Max. So it's something that you might want to check out. Netflix is working right now on eliminating password sharing, which is probably going to really affect a lot of people that have been sharing their passwords. I haven't been one of them, but anybody have any comments on that?
Well, I'm getting my Netflix via T-Mobile now, so I have a great deal getting it from T-Mobile, which is great. But I'm not a sharer of the password. I don't think I share my Netflix password with anybody outside my immediate household, so I can't speak to the sharing thing. And she said, yes, the Phantom is what?
35. Phantom was 35 years in the making. The show ran for 35 years, which was a long time, almost as long as FedEx. But FedEx is still going. FedEx is now celebrating their 50th anniversary. They started in 1973, just the other day. So this week is their 50th anniversary. They started out with 186 packages. Now they transport over 15 million a day. Is that not amazing? 15
that makes
million
my head explode just thinking about it. Anything, a million, anything per day. There's so many things that a million a day happen, but over a million packages a day, that just makes my head explode.
Yeah. Basically, I would say to you that a million is a lot, but if you're talking in rupees, from Indonesia, then all of a sudden you would find that that's, like $2. So, but when I was there and I wanted to buy something and it was 1,000,000 rupees, I felt, oh my God, I can't spend 1,000,000 rupees. And my friend said, hey, it's $2. You could do it,
So I had that question before. Did FedEx, does it have sources from Australia originally?
It was a project. If I remember correctly, it was a project that the guy that started FedEx was doing for his MBA project. That was a concept that he had for his MBA project, and yada yada yada. It worked.
I just thought there was some connection to the TNT company at some point, whether FedEx took them over or not. I don't know. I just thought there was a line of progression somewhere.
I think they bought TNT. I think FedEx bought TNT. But like I said, this is an opinion show. Do your own research, And while you're at it, I want you guys to go out and try McDonald's, because McDonald's is upgrading their burgers. Basically, they're actually going to get away. They're going to go like in and out. They're going to stop using frozen meats in certain locations, and it'll all be fresh all the time. And they're going to use better cheeses and all of that other stuff. So I wonder how that's going to affect McDonald's bottom line. You know,
Mr. Happy will be happier.
McDonald's lately.
Mr. Happy will be happier.
Yeah, the Happy Meal will make you really happy, you know, especially when you see the
last
price
time.
tag on it.
Last time I had McDonald's, it was so bad. I don't think I ever will have McDonald's on purpose ever again.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Wow.
sorry,
Well,
McDonald's.
just remember that's your opinion. We used to go to McDonald's. I think still the best French fries in the world are out of McDonald's. I'm positive that they're not real potato all the way. There's something else in those potatoes. But whatever it is delicious. I heard that they cover them in sugar and salt.
It's crack potato. Yep. You know,
But they're
They-
really,
anything
really
that,
good.
anything that tastes
they
extra
soak
good
them.
like that, I call it crack.
They soak them in sugar water. That's what
Is
Yeah,
that
whatever
for
it is,
real?
it's really good. So you're an Apple fanboy. We have a bunch of Apple fanboys in the room. Did you hear
Oh
about
my
what
God, I
Apple
have
is
so
doing?
many Apple computers. Now I have my Apple savings account. Is that what you're going to talk about?
Yeah. 4.15%.
4.15% APY. Yeah, it's almost as good a rate as my other savings account.
Well, what you're going to find is the local banks now are going to start raising their interest rates to compete with the big boys. They have to compete with the Chases and the Bank of Americas and the Charles Schwabs and all of that. So you're going to see now an opportunity if you have savings account in a small bank that they're going to be better than Apple. But 4.15, the convenience of having an Apple savings account would appear to be really cool, except I open my account and it's very difficult to move that money around. So what you really need to do is what happens is they have this Apple Cash card, and the way to get it, you have to move it in and out of the savings account to the cash card. But to transfer it to a bank, it's pretty difficult. And if you need customer service right now, forget it. I was on hold the other day for about 45 minutes before I finally said I've had enough. So, but
Well, I haven't done it, tried to transfer any money yet, but I just, opened the account with the money that was in my, what's that Apple Cash account called? The cash that they gave me for buying something.
Apple
with the
Cash.
Apple Card.
It's called Apple Cash.
Apple Cash. So I just opened it with that small amount of money, $30 or something that was in my Apple Cash account. So I haven't explored that, but that's not good if you can't transfer that money easily to other banks and other things.
Well, I'm sure they're working on it right now because they just introduced it. Because at first I wasn't able to transfer it back to the cash card. Then all of a sudden, as by magic, it appeared in the app, and it made it a lot easier. Now you can move money back and forth from the cash card, and you can attach bank accounts to it. So it's a really they're going to make it very convenient. But to open that account, it was 2 clicks. That was it. 2 clicks.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And boom,
Oh yeah. It
open.
was like nothing. Like nothing. But what bank is it really? It's not Apple Bank or anything. It's what?
It's Goldman Sachs. It's Goldman Sachs.
Goldman Sachs. Yeah. So do we
And
trust
they're not
that?
going anywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
So did you hear that Apple is now manufacturing in India, and now India's sales hit a new high of $6 billion in this year through March alone. $6 billion since March in just India.
You mean items that were manufactured in India in general, or Apple items?
Apple items. They just opened the first Apple store in India, and now they're going to open more stores. But they've already done $6 billion already.
No, they
We're only
haven't.
in April.
Not a retail store. Come on, that can't be.
Yep. They're opening their
retail
first
store?
stores right now.
Say
Tim
it's not
Cook is
true.
in India right now.
Mike's shaking his head too. That can't be a retail store.
India is a huge market for everyone. India is going to become the most populous country on the planet probably in about 2 years, 3 years.
Is it breaking news that Kavlo's first show in India is when?
Never. Can you imagine? Listen, I ship something from here to Nashville and back, a road case, and it gets damaged on both legs. it gets damaged on the way out and damaged on the way back. So can you imagine the damage going to India? But anyway, so India is a huge market. Up
Get
until
stepped on by an
now,
elephant.
everyone who has purchased an Apple device in India who lives in India has purchased it either off the web and it comes from wherever it comes from, or they've bought it from a third-party reseller located in India. So yes, Apple has done a bajillion dollars in business in India, but to Jan's point, what they're doing now is they don't want that business to go to third parties. They don't want that business to go to web sellers. They want that Apple experience, and they want, the Genius bar. Well, it depends what side you're standing on. The side I'm standing on is the idiot bar. The side the employee is standing on is the Genius bar. Apple does a lot of business in India, and they just want a piece of it. And then, like a lot of other companies, and this goes to before the pandemic, because of the tariffs that the Trump administration put on products from China, a lot of technology companies were already looking at opportunities to move to other countries. India is a natural one because, again, it's going to be the most populous country in the planet within the next 2 to 3 years. So that makes sense. India, Vietnam, Singapore, these are all countries that are picking up a lot of slack of Chinese manufacturing in order to both avoid some of the Trump tariffs that are still in place that President Biden has not lifted. And then additionally, so much manufacturing in China was disrupted because of their response to COVID, their extreme lockdown measures. You had factories that were closed for months and months and months, right? So you had to diversify your supply chain. There are even Chinese companies, that are now building stuff to sell in the Chinese market outside of China. So these Chinese factories are subbing out some of their work to other countries, particularly Vietnam, if it's electronics, telecommunication gear, and then re-importing it back to China to then either final assemble it or just, package it up and sell it in China, which is just crazy. Nobody's ever heard of that before. So it's interesting, but India's a country to watch. That's really the future population boom is India.
They're very close to overtaking, very close to overtaking the population of China. And there is more money, there's more middle class in India than there is in China. And so that means there's more dispendable income that they have, which would be good for, any retailer. But basically America's got trading problems with China. We became way too dependent on China over the years. And so we need to divest our interest globally so that we're not so dependent on China. Because, if you're watching what's going on and nobody knows what's going to happen, but Taiwan is just like, China wants to make that back to the mainland. They want to take it over, and they're doing exercise. We're doing exercise. They're doing exercise. And, it's with what's happening in the Ukraine, people are looking at it. China's looking at it. Can we take back Taiwan, and what the cost would be? And our problem is if that happened, the biggest chip manufacturer in the world happens to be in Taiwan. And that could be devastating for everybody. Bye, Kenny.
We won't let Taiwan go.
But two questions.
Yeah, Ken.
Question number one, because I'm a real idiot. Where is India located? What continent is it on?
The Indian continent.
That's what it is, the Indian continent.
That's because
No, it's
India.
not.
Yes, India is pretty big. So just imagine, where Africa is?
Yeah.
You know where China is?
Yeah.
Halfway in between is India.
I thought then it's part of Asia, right?
Yeah, it's called the Indian subcontinent, that region, and it's basically if you're looking at a map, it's the lower left corner of Asia.
So it's not on the continent of Africa, though.
No.
Okay, got it. That's what I wanted to find out. Thanks. The other question was, where are Apple's new chips made?
Depends on the chip, and some are made still in China, some are made in Vietnam now. They're hoping to make some in India, and some are made in the US.
Yeah. By the way, just to be specific, it is in the continent of Southeast Asia, but it is its own subcontinent, India. Just an FYI. Do your own research. Wikipedia has a great article on it. If Tina's doing the thing, she'll put a link into the chat.
When are they going to reopen the Dante province?
I heard something along the lines that something about there's a problem with patents with Dante, and that and the supply chain issue is what really caused this backlog of Dante. Mike, what do you hear?
I had not heard about the patent issue. I do know that there were two manufacturers who, at the very beginning of the pandemic, took a long view on Dante chips and bought a lot. And I mean, tens and tens and tens of thousands of them. And then they sat on them. So both those companies had more than enough to make what they wanted to make. One company decided to sell off some of their surplus at about triple what they had paid. Just good business. Another company refused, is still sitting on them because they figure they'll use them forever. In the meantime, a lot of other companies pivoted to virtual Dante because they figured out in their particular use case for whatever product it is that they made that 64 channels was plenty. 64 channels is plenty for a lot of people. So they switched to virtual. And I know one manufacturer in specific, he showed me what he did. And by switching to virtual Dante and then re-engineering the product it was going into, basically he could go to a cheaper motherboard because he didn't have the Dante chip to worry about.
Mike, can you elaborate on what is virtual Dante? I've not heard of that other than virtual sound cards that I use from my computer.
Yeah, so it's probably not the correct term. I call it virtual Dante, but it's the Dante you can do right over the regular IP. You don't have to have a separate RJ45 connection. You can run it over software, and there are devices now where you can do up to 64 channels of Dante, but you don't need a device that actually has the separate RJ45 Dante connection.
Yes, but there are other manufacturers right now that are introducing different protocols other than Dante. I believe that, I believe Meyer is one of those manufacturers that are moving away or offering other aspects of protocol.
They like AVB, don't they?
No,
Yes.
Yes, they do. And they've also created a new protocol, Kurt, correct me if I'm wrong, called Milo.
No. That's an old box that I'm trying to sell.
There's a new protocol that they created in conjunction with L Acoustics, and no, it has two A's in it. Oh,
Well, there's the whole AVB thing, and then there's now I know what you're talking about. I just can't remember the name.
yeah, so they have a new protocol, newish. It's been around 4 or 5 years, but it's really taking off. Essentially, I believe it's built on the AES backbone. But the important thing to know too is that if you have any current device that does Dante, if it's using the newest chip, which I believe is the Liberty chip, that Liberty chip inherently will also do AES 67 and vice versa. They can't do them both at the same time. You have to flash the chip with which one you want to do, but you can do both AES and Dante now using the same daughter card as long as you flash it up front.
I think the whole thing's going to turn into a big, giant raging firestorm.
I think my guess is
that's Mr. Analog. Yeah.
That's Dante's Inferno. Come on. Try the video.
Dante's Inferno. Get it? I get it. I get it now. Okay.
My guess is you'll probably see two protocols emerge for a while.
Well,
one more on the kind of install side and one on the
portable side.
Yeah, production side, four-wall side, live side. Yeah.
That's too bad.
Yeah, but also remember that on the install side, a lot of times, going back to what I was saying, we're not running the kind of channel counts that Ken or Kurt are running. If we're running a lot of times we can do audio and video on one, in one bundle and do it quite well. I mean, we can do, 4K, 444, 60 frames per second with 7 channels of audio on one connector.
I did a multi-track at a theater here that was off of 2 Yamaha consoles, but we had to do it. We took outputs from him that were Dante out, and we were able to run it into laptops to port it into Studio One and Pro Tools actually. But the limit was 64 and it was a 72 input gig. So we had to have 2 laptops running 2 sessions and then fly the Pro Tools WAV files into my Studio One session in order to get it all into one session. So the Studio One can handle the channel count, but you couldn't get them directly. You had to record them on a whole different laptop and then export the WAV files and line up the waves, very old school.
Right, because you were probably doing virtual Dante using by having the console and the 2 laptops.
Just through a network switch. Yeah.
Well, speaking of that kind of stuff, I just saw an announcement today from Waves that said something about, and I have yet to research it, something about new Waves product that lets you do Super Rack on your computer without a Waves server or something like that.
Yeah, I got the emails.
About it?
I got emails that say I have 2 licenses for this stuff, and I haven't even read them yet because it literally came in while I was flying back today, last night, whatever this day has turned.
So you don't know much about it either yet, huh?
Not yet. I haven't read it. But
Brand new. It's breaking news right now. Breaking news right now.
Breaking news right now. What's that, Jen?
What you're talking about with Waves.
Oh,
I mean, Waves is really doing some major overhauling. They basically went in a direction where they said, well, everybody's got to have a license, this and that, and then it became crazy.
They really screwed the pooch a couple weeks ago because they said we're going to change to a subscription system instead of buy whatever plugins you want. You get either 1 or 2 levels of one of 2 levels of subscription, and that's how you'll keep these plugins and the support of them. And then they got such a backlash from users that said, wait, what? We're not going to be able to use plugins without a subscription? I mean, upgrade them and so forth without a subscription? And so they said, oh, okay, we'll bring back the individual purchasing and the individual support, but we also have the subscription. Well, now this new email that I got today said something about running Super Rack without, I think it said without a server. Is that right, Kurt?
I haven't read it, but that'll piss me off because I just bought the 2 servers.
Well, that's what there's a lot of people that are really unhappy with Waves and would wish that they could get away from them because of all of the aspects of what they do. But it is a good product, and so
it's questionable whether it's a good company, though. Their approach to sales and marketing and all that kind of stuff is definitely has some flaws in it recently, and because of that, they're losing a lot of customers. So
I think their approach has always been when you've got them by their balls, their hearts and minds will follow. I think that's been the approach. And as long as it goes the way they want to. But then again, who would have thought that the mini skirt would have ever gone out of style either, And of course, the woman who designed that just died, 93 years old. But, who would have thought? I mean, mini skirt, man, that was a hot item for a long time.
I don't like that segue with this topic.
Listen, Tina, Dan has his index cards, and he's going to hit the story, whether it's relevant or not.
Hey, Tina's got the list. She's the one posting the notes. I spend all week putting the stories together, and she's the one who posts them. So, hey.
Mike,
that's great.
It's Myers software is Nebra. It's a new control and a networking system for their products.
No, there's something else they co-developed with like 7 or 8 other companies in the last few years. I'll find it.
All right.
How do I change which camera I'm using? I'd love to show you guys where I am, but it's using the me facing camera. You don't happen
Well,
to
what
know
you
how
have to
change
do
it.
is you tap the phone and it'll give you an opportunity to switch the camera.
It usually has like a little circle arrow thing.
Yeah,
Usually at
yeah,
the
I'm
top.
familiar with that circle and arrow thing. Oh wait, maybe it's this guy right here. There we go.
But if
There,
you
look at that.
hold on. Is that the stratosphere?
No, I'm not near the
No.
stratosphere.
No.
Oh, what is that
That's a
attached to your
beautiful.
windshield?
That's a beautiful
Oh,
phone.
that's my phone mount. Okay, let's do this. Let's get this up away from the phone
Pulling
mount.
into Las Vegas, ladies and gentlemen. He's pulling into
Right,
Las
there you
Vegas.
go.
Oh, there
Yeah,
you go.
see the
Now you
truck.
cleared it up.
Yeah, trucks. Yeah. Whoa, we don't want to hit the car in front of us. But
Don't do
there's
that.
the Mandalay Bay. I don't know if you can see. I don't know how zoomed in it is. It's probably too
Good,
far
yeah,
away.
we see Mandalay Bay
I
and
see it.
Delano. We see the blue car that you almost rear-ended.
Right.
Yeah, and there's a FedEx truck. Look at that. There you go. FedEx.
Yeah, see, he knew. Yep. I'm coming up in the Allegiant Stadium on the left. I don't know if you can see it.
Welcome back to
But-
my hometown.
Yep,
Yeah,
welcome
thanks.
back.
Yeah.
Hey, so
and I'm
speaking of
sitting
your
in-
hometown, let's talk a little bit about Kavlo before we talk about the big story I want to talk about. So talk about Kavlo. It's coming up when?
2 weeks from today, actually, we load in and do our little welcome reception free food party on the evening of May 3rd. And then the show is May 4th. Pretty excited. A lot of people registered. It's a one-day show, so I don't expect everyone who registered to show up. We usually run about half, is pretty typical.
Where
How
is
do
it?
people find you? How do people? What do they search for to find Kavlo if they want to come?
Well, you just go to Kavlo.tech, but if you just search Kavlo, Cavlo, I'm the only Kavlo in town. And we are finally, by popular demand, we are having a contest to see if anybody can guess what the CAVL and O stand for. And if you do guess correctly, you win $500 cash. If there are multiple correct guesses, we will throw the correct guesses in a hat and draw one name. If no one guesses, the $500 rolls on to the next show, and I'll just keep adding $500 to the pot till somebody guesses.
Did,
Can I guess
did,
right
no
now?
one, did no one guess?
No
at
one
the
has a
last-
clue yet. Listen, I don't mean to be, I don't mean to
Oh,
be,
wow.
but there are people who can't figure out what the A and the V stand for.
Oh my God, audio visual, unbelievable. If you
The
put it
C-
that way,
The C stands for commercial.
Well, maybe it's V might be video, might be visual, and that's two different words. So you would be incorrect if you said the wrong
hey,
one.
you're gonna save this guy $500. Let's stop here. All right, that's it.
I will say this, my daughter is the only one who's ever figured out the C. Only about 10 people have figured out the L, and no one knows what the O is.
It stands for oh my God, it's Kavlo. Unbelievable. There you go. I'm going to use artificial intelligence. I'm going to use either BARD or Perspective or something like that to get it. I'm going to try to use maybe AlphaSync. Google just invested $100 million.
Oh, there's the segue. There's the
financial
segue,
data.
everybody.
Yeah, well, look,
Better than the mini
Look, I'm
skirt
coming.
segue.
Here it
look, I'm
comes.
coming up on Allegiant Stadium. It says Ed Sheeran's going to be here.
Yes, in August. That's going to be a great show.
Wow.
Other than it's August.
Oh my God, it's going
be
to
a little
be
warm.
baking hot. Is that stadium air conditioned?
Yes,
I mean,
it
do
is.
they have misting or anything in there?
No, it's air conditioned.
It's air conditioned.
Yeah, now
No
does the
kidding.
roof open and close, or is it always open? Or how does
No,
the roof?
doesn't open and close. We
It's
have a lanai.
It's translucent, but it's
We have a
it's
lanai
It said
window. that
Saturday,
opens.
September 9th. Saturday, September 9th, it just said on the screen.
Oh, that might
That's
be
a nice screen. Nice
Well,
screen they have on the side of the Allegiant
finally.
Stadium.
It only took them a year and a half to get the darn thing working right.
Oh, is that
Have
right?
have they opened the sphere screens yet on the outside of the building?
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, they've been fired up for about a month now doing testing.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
I'll have to take a swing by there.
That's going to be very impressive when they get that up and running. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's just Let's talk about what's going on, because somebody mentioned Biden and Trump. Okay, Fox News settles with Dominion, all right? $787 million suit. And it basically, what do you guys think of it? I mean, what's your opinion on this?
I think Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell should be very, very nervous right about now.
I think Fox News is redefining the definition of news in their way. You know, they want to redefine it, but news is supposed to be news, and they're not news usually. They're entertainment.
Infotainment. Yeah, I was hoping that basically with part of the trial that they would have to be forced into changing the name of the company, or at least the slogan. But it's not. I mean, listen to that. I mean,
no trial.
Said,
so yeah, that's not going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, Fox basically said, you know, like, hey, you know, it was laughable about the statement that they made on the air. As a matter of fact, what was that guy's name on CNN when he was reading when he was reading the statement that Fox made on air? He started to laugh out loud.
He laughed right on CNN. Yeah, that was good.
You know, and basically, but you know, the next one's coming right down the pipe for them, and that's the Smartmatic, and that's for 2.7 billion, and they've just seen them settle for, you know, almost $800 million, and they're suing for 2.7. But the difference is Smartmatic is basically saying he remains committed to clearing its name, recouping the significant damage done to the company, and holding Fox accountable for undermining democracy. So hopefully,
wait, I don't know anything about what's Smartmatic. What's that, Jan? I haven't heard of
it's
that.
another election software company, hardware company.
Oh, no kidding.
So Dominion makes the voting machines. Smartmatic is the software that's within the machine.
Anyway, so that's coming down as well. And then, of course, the stockholders are now suing Fox. And there's another lawsuit coming down from the producer. I mean, the word is going to get out there that people have been lied to. I mean, yet something like 67% of the people who watch Fox don't believe a word of anything that anybody's saying except what Fox tells them. Is that not crazy?
So, Mike, why do you think Rudy needs to be nervous?
So the statement, so the $787 million is not chump change. I mean, some people said, look, they settled for half what they were suing for, or less than half, which is technically true, but $787 million is a lot of money. The more important thing that came out of this trial was a bunch of pre-trial motions that Fox filed with the judge saying, hey, you know, this is a First Amendment issue. This is a freedom of the press issue. This is I forget what the court case was. It was a court case in the 70s, New York Times versus somebody, I forget, where it was established that you can, a news program can present opinions as long as those opinions are somehow substantiated by fact, right? So, you know, an interpretation, right? You know, different people can have different interpretations of the same set of fact. So Fox tried to argue that these were just interpretations, and the judge knocked all of that down and said, look, there was never any evidence. There was never a single piece of fact that was involved here. So it's not freedom of speech. What you were spewing were flat out lies. And then, of course, on top of that, then the recordings come out, the emails come out, where it turns out that even the Fox hosts were talking amongst themselves about how they knew none of this was true. That's the problem Rudy Giuliani is going to have. That's the problem Sidney Powell is going to have. That's the problem. I mean, Dominion still
Mike
has
Lindell. You see, the problem is Sidney Powell and Giuliani. They could probably hide their money like Alex Jones did, but Mike Lindell probably can't. and they've got him right where they want him right now in this lawsuit, and he doesn't have the kind of money. But then they're also suing Newsmax and all of these other, fabricators.
Yep. Yeah.
So
So
we're
all
going
of
to
these
see a change
arguments,
in the landscape very shortly.
yeah, all of these arguments that all these other folks were counting on Fox establishing, which would probably, at least in one or two cases, have allowed for an outright dismissal of a case, all those arguments have been thrown out. So now those folks have to be concerned about, okay, what was our plan F? Because plans A, B, C, D, and E are now gone.
So no soft landing for the pillow guy.
No, he's going down. He's going down. It's eventual, but he will be going down.
Yeah, he
So-
has nowhere to rest his head at the moment.
There you go.
If you've seen my video on Facebook, I made this video a long time ago, but it's me throwing away my pillows into the trash. It's on Facebook if you want to watch it. I thought it was kind of humorous.
Where do you think the previous president sits in this? Anywhere?
I think he's going down right now. Basically, probably the biggest. He's got two things that are really affecting, that is going to affect his life. Number one, it looks like Fannie Willis down in Atlanta right now. Her case is moving ahead about the election fraud in Georgia. Basically, there was a big uncovering of news just yesterday that she had offered immunity to all these fake electors in Atlanta, but the lawyer who's being paid by the Trump people didn't tell them that they were offered immunity. And now that was in the grand jury, and all of that's breaking loose. So the experts are saying that is going to happen within the next couple of weeks, that those lawsuits are going to come down, and that's going to be criminal. Of course, you've got the Mar-a-Lago documents. That is criminal as well. And who knows what else is going on? I mean, there's a bunch of things. I mean, they're saying that this guy Alvin Bragg, is with Letitia James, they're saying this guy is brilliant. He's got him now on on actual, really legitimate legal counts, not the suit, the 34 fraudulent things that they've got going on right now in New York. But he's now going to tack on real felony cases based on the lying that Letitia James is taking to a civil court. So he waited for her to do the civil, and now he's going to do the criminal. So we'll see. But right now, Donald Trump is leading the polls way ahead of everyone else, But seeing we're in the entertainment industry, what do you think about Ron DeSantis wanting to put up prisons by Disneyland?
Listen, no. You got it all wrong.
He is on self-destruct mode. He's trying to destroy his own state, it sounds like to me. I mean, who would want to do that? What's wrong with that guy?
Listen, and besides, he's thinking too small, right? He said, look, we could put a park there. We could put public housing there. We could put another theme park. We could do a prison. What he should do is take a couple of those concepts and put them together. So he should have a theme park and prison combined in one. Because when you think about it, look, it's kind of like the Magic Kingdom. It's a secluded, it's its own environment does not resemble everyday life for anyone. It's very different. There's a tower, right? Disney has a tower. The prison would have a tower. I mean, it would have barbed wire, but it has a tower.
Well, it's a great concept to get people to want to go to jail. A themed prison.
You could have the Escape from Alcatraz ride.
Yeah,
it's amazing. It's a good
you could
idea.
have the Great Escape motorcycle stunt.
There you go.
Going on.
Whole series of escape rides.
Yeah, you could have hot air balloon rides that never go anywhere. You could have helicopters that crash in the courtyard.
You have restaurants that serve cakes with files in them.
Yeah, there's he's just thinking so small that he just needs to expand his thought process a little bit.
Well, once again, Mark Twain comes into play when he says it's better to keep your mouth shut and appear stupid than open it up and remove all doubts. So I should send that over to Ron, but what the hell? I love it. I love him when he puts his foot in the mouth. And right now they're having all sorts of problems in Florida. I mean, amazing amount of problems. Gas shortages, seaweed floating up on their beaches, gay, all this stuff.
But they officially made it illegal to do something in the schools, right? Mention gender or something. I forget what it was.
Yeah,
Right?
basically, they don't want any sexual education about gender diversity in schools. That's it, and you can't talk about it. And just to show where Disney is, they just announced, based on this, the largest gay parade ever in the history of Disneyland is going to be taking place, not in Florida though, but in Anaheim, and they just announced that. So I wouldn't want to be on Bob Iger's bad side at all. I would think that he's got more clout than the governor of Florida. I would say.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with the mouse.
That's it. Don't mess with the mouse, baby. Don't mess with the mouse. I saw some sort of AI thing with Mickey Mouse with brass knuckles on him. So it's like,
Did you see John Oliver when he talked about the copyright on the mouse? It's about to
No.
expire. Watch the John Oliver episode where he talks about the mouse. I forget what it is exactly, but there's a copyright on the mouse, Mickey Mouse figure, and the original Mickey Mouse. He talks about it, and I can't remember what he said, but is about to expire very soon.
okay.
But there were different versions of Mickey Mouse that came along later.
Mhm.
But he was just saying how you could take advantage of the fact that the Mickey Mouse is now public domain. Soon.
Well, I have a feeling that for some reason that can't possibly be true, and I can't imagine Disney letting that happen. So I'm sure
No,
we're not going to see that.
I haven't seen the bill, but I'm sure what it is if you've ever watched the very first Mickey Mouse cartoon,
Right.
he doesn't look exactly like today's Mickey Mouse.
Right.
And that's probably what's happening is the copyright on the very first version is expiring because copyrights cannot be renewed in perpetuity. They expire. But what would happen is if you did something with that version of Mickey Mouse, you better make sure that it never looks any different, that you don't accidentally make it a little more modern or accidentally. Oh, and the original Mickey Mouse is in black and white.
Right, for sure.
So you can't do the red shorts and the bright white gloves. That's not going to fly. That's the
Anyway, I would if you're curious about it, I would recommend watching the John Oliver show where he talks about it. He's pretty thorough.
But to
Last Week
Jan's
Tonight,
point,
I believe is the name of the show. And it's on YouTube. If you don't have HBO Max, it's on YouTube. That's how I watch it. So I watch it.
No
on
kidding.
YouTube.
Do you have to pay
Yeah.
for it on YouTube?
No, it's free on YouTube.
No kidding.
Nope,
About
not
that.
kidding. It's not the whole show. It's just the highlight episode.
Oh, right. Got it. Oh, how about that?
But everything is on
To
YouTube.
Jan's point, though, I'm sure Mickey, Disney lawyers thought about this years ago, and
I'm sure.
they're not worried about it.
I'm not worried about it. Why should they be? Really, that's the way I look at it. Hey, listen.
Hey, how's
So
it going?
you guys are flying a lot. I want to tell you something. There's one last story I want to cover, and then we can talk about whatever you want. But basically, you know what they call the hobo seat? The hobo, I believe that's what they call it, where you get on a plane and you're flying in coach and nobody's sitting next to you. It's a long flight, so you'll lay down and the hobo coach, hobo seat. What do you call that? Anybody know?
I didn't know there was a special name for laying across 3 seats trying to get comfortable, but realize.
Well, listen to this. They are now going to capitalize on that. An increasing number of long-haul airlines are now offering economy seats that let passengers lie down. They're going to call them sky couches, as they are often called. and they are a business class approximation without the frills of the price. So if, in other words, if you get on a plane and there's nobody sitting next to you on the two other seats, and they're going to try to charge you now for this. So it's crazy, but they're going to give you a mattress or something that fits into the seat. But it's so small. I guess it's good for, for underdeveloped people, or I don't know if midget's the right word, or dwarfs. But whatever, that's, that's what they're offering right now. And you're going to be paying for that. Could you believe it?
Height challenge, maybe?
Height challenge, yes. Anyway,
I'll tell you what, I am at my destination, so I'm going to have to bid you adieu.
Well, Kenny, you're going to have to book a couch and coach. That's all I have to say next time you fly.
Yeah.
Have a great weekend and great show.
Have a great weekend. Have a good show. If anybody wants tickets to Manilow, don't call Kenny. That's for sure.
No way. Right. But thanks for the chat. It made the ride go way faster. Thanks very much, you guys. Have a good one.
Have a great
show.
It's our
pleasure. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Anyway, anybody have any comments on that about the coach seats?
There'd be lots of legs hanging in the aisle, wouldn't there?
That's
Okay.
ridiculous.
Well, there you go. That's it. Last thing I want to say is for my man, our expert resident down in Australia.
Wait, you said the last thing was the last thing.
Well, this is the last thing. I don't care about this part.
That was the last thing. This is the
question for
last
Wayne.
comment.
Yeah. Okay. Wayne, did you know now that Sydney is no longer the largest city in Australia?
No, I didn't.
Do you know what is?
Well, it could only be Melbourne, couldn't it?
There you go. Our expert resident of Australian knowledge comes through with the right answer.
There's only two to pick from.
I guess there's a city in Melbourne called Melvin, something like that. Is that correct?
Say that again, Jen.
Is there a city in Melbourne called Melvin? Malvern, something?
Melbourne.
Well, Melbourne,
Melbourne.
and Moorabbin.
Yeah.
There's Moorabbin, but that's a suburb. That's just a straight suburb.
Anyway, one of the suburbs that they weren't counting as population, they decided to count it as population, and now Melbourne is the largest city in Australia.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah,
There you go.
I thought
Heard
Sydney was way bigger.
Coming right out of the mouth of Wayne Sims. It's amazing. How you like that?
Yeah, I'll have to check that out now. Yeah.
All right, well, I got other things I want to talk about, but I promised that was the last story. So what do you guys want to talk about now for the last 5 minutes?
Not much.
All right, the sound of silence. Well, if that's the case, let's stay in the room. Let's say goodbye to everybody on social media. Remind them that to give us a thumbs up, like the show, come and join us if you want to be on the panel. Everybody's got an opinion, so you might as well express yours. Everything you heard today was an opinion, so remember, you make it happen. This was our 152nd show. It was recorded basically on the 20th and the 19th of April accordingly, depending on where you were in the world. So with that in mind, goodbye, stay safe, be healthy, and anybody have any last comment?
Have a great week, all.
You make it happen, stay out of trouble, and remember, see you next week. Give us the thumbs up, subscribe, and we will talk to you again next week. And with that, we are off the air.
Bye, everybody.